Hello, Seiiti up. How many books did you start last year and you never finish? If you're like most intelligent people that I know, the answer is more than you'd like to admit. And that's why my recommendation for you is stop reading books. So rather, stop reading the wrong books. Stop reading the wrong way. Reading just for the sake of reading gives you no benefit. You have to read the right books using the right method. Let me explain. You buy books, you start books, you have a pile of unread books that keeps growing, and deep down you think, well, I should be able to do this. I'm an intelligent person. Maybe I have a focus problem. Now, here's the truth that will surprise you. You don't have a focus problem, you have a selection problem. The problem is not your ability to concentrate. The problem is that you're trying to read the wrong books at the wrong time. And more importantly, nobody taught you that, most books should not be read from beginning to end. And when you master the art of selecting and extracting value from your books, you'll learn in 1 week what other people might take months to absorb. This means better decisions at work, more clarity in your choices, and a real advantage of those who keep spinning their wheels on the same pile of unfinished books. Treat non-fiction books as tools, not novels. When you pick a fiction novel, it does make sense for you to read page by page because the story unfolds gradually. Skipping chapters will ruin your experience. However, most books are not novels. They're business books, personal development, productivity, finance, leaderships, all types of other skills. These books are tools, and you don't use a tool from beginning to end like that. You use the part of the tool that solves a specific problem. Think of it this way. When you need to replace the battery of your vacuum robot, you don't read the entire manual. You go straight to battery replacement section, and then you solve the problem and you get on with your life. With non-fiction books, the logic is the same. What part of the book solves the problem that you have right now? This mindset shift is liberating because you stop feeling guilty about not finishing books. You start extracting real value from each one. Focus your energy on the 20% of the book that contains 80% of the value to you. On average, 80% of the value in a non-fiction book is concentrated in 20% of the content. The rest is repetition, additional examples, supporting stories. All of those can be useful, but they're not essential. When you try to read every word on a page, you're wasting precious time. And worse, you're using mental energy on low-value content. You can turn all of that into something that really matters by focusing on the parts that really matter. Imagine the impact of this in your life. Instead of reading 2 books a year from cover to cover, you can extract the main ideas of 10, 15 books, or even more. This means more applied knowledge, more tools in your arsenal, more ability to solve problems. Now, the question that changes everything is, how do you do that? How can you identify which 20% is actually worth your time? You read the introduction, the conclusion, and the first paragraph of each chapter to decide just 15 minutes if that book is worth, let's say, 5 hours of your time. That's how you can save 5 hours of your life. Would you like to do that? If you read the wrong book, that's what you're going to lose. 5 hours that could be invested in a book that makes a difference to you, or put it into practice, something that you've learned. And that's why, before committing to any book, you have to do a triage. Just a 15-minute triage. This is how it works. First, read the introduction. There, the author will explain to you what they're going to be teaching you and why it matters. Well, and if that introduction does not convince you, the book probably won't convince you either. And this is the principle that in Latin we say ex digito gigas. By the finger you know the giant. This is a Latin expression that means you can judge the whole by just looking at one part. Books work in the same way. If the author can't explain to you in the hook of the introduction, it's probably not going to be worth the rest. And then you jump right to the conclusion. There, the author will summarize the main ideas. And also, if the conclusion doesn't make you think of anything new, probably you already know what that book is teaching. First, read the first paragraph of each chapter, and then this will give you an overview of the structure. You will identify which chapters have content for you and what is repetition of things you have no value, that you already know. In 15 minutes, you know if that book is deserving your time. And you know which exactly are the chapters that are worth reading more carefully. This technique alone can save you hundreds of hours per year, hundreds of hours that you can use to actually implement what you've learned. Spend time with your family or advance projects that really matter. Now, obviously, you need to be able to read quick to be able to do this in 15 minutes. In the Intelligence Arata Academy training, I'll give you the tools to train your eye movements and triple your reading speed. You can visit arata.se/intelligence to unlock your access. Define a specific question before opening any book. Here's the mistake that almost everyone makes: starting a book without having a specific question in their mind. You pick up the book and then you think, okay, I'm now going to absorb a lot of knowledge. And then you start reading, and after a few pages, your mind starts to wander. You lose interest. The book goes to that pile of unfinished ones. And this happens because your brain doesn't know what it is looking for. When you have a specific question, it helps you. But if you don't, any question, any answer will do. And when any answer is doing for you, you don't have enough attention in that material. You have to write your question before you start, and then you stop when you find the answer. The solution is simple, right? Never start a book without first defining what is the problem that you want to solve. Before opening a book, you have to write down a question. Could be, how can I negotiate my salary better? Could be, how can I have more energy during the day? Or how can I improve my communication with my team? Now you have a filter. And while you read, you're actively searching for that answer in that book. The relevant parts will jump out at you. The irrelevant parts, you can just skim them through very quickly. And when you find the answer to your question, you can stop. You don't have to finish the entire book. You already got what you needed. Now it's time for you to close the book and do the implementation, because knowledge without action is just entertainment. The person who is reading one chapter after another, but they're implementing what they learned, that person is ahead of somebody else who is reading the whole book but doing nothing. It's not changing their life. And you have to give your brain a clear mission so it releases dopamine when you find the answer. Your brain is a problem-solving machine. It gets bored when it has no problem to solve. Now it gets engaged when there is a clear mission. So reading just to absorb knowledge doesn't give your brain a clear mission. Now, reading to answer a specific question, that definitely does. And here's the thing. When you find the answer that you're looking for, your brain will release dopamine and you feel satisfaction. And this creates a positive association with reading. And next time you pick up a book, it's going to be much easier. And more importantly, you feel motivated to put that into practice, what you just discovered. Now compare this to the opposite experience that you're forcing yourself to be reading a book page by page, not finding anything particularly useful. Then you abandon that book on page 87, feeling guilty, and this creates a negative association. And next time it's harder for you to start, and then you don't implement anything because you don't even know where to begin. The method I've shared here with you, it completely reverses this dynamic. You will be reading fewer pages, you extract more value, you implement faster, and then you feel good about the process. Don't read books, read specific pages. You don't need to feel guilty about not finishing books. You need a better method for choosing what you're reading and how you're reading. Treat books as tools. Use the 15-minute technique to do the triage and always start with a specific question in your mind, and most importantly, implement what you've learned before moving on to the next book. This will transform reading from a source of guilt into a source of practical results. If you want to learn more about how to use your brain better, not just for reading, but for all areas of your life, you can visit the link arata.se/intelligence, and then you can access a demo class.